recognize a couple of special guests that are with us this evening. It is our great honor at CFIB tonight to have with us Minister Todd Smith, Ontario's Minister of Economic Development and the MPP for the Bay of Quinte. Where is Todd? Minister. You'll be pleased to know that this is not the first appearance for the Minister at a CFIB event. In fact, we've been in regular touch and in fact hosted the Minister at our own offices in North York to meet with members on previous occasions. I have to tell you that his short tenure as Minister of Economic Development has been a very busy one on many, many files that are of deep concern to small and medium-sized business owners across the province. And I did want to also add that, of course, we are incredibly honored tonight to have somebody who is incredibly busy join us this evening, and that's the Premier of the province, Premier Doug Ford. Premier Ford was elected just about a year ago, and in fact, Premier, we had to move our annual general meeting to accommodate last year's provincial election, and that freed up independent business owners to go to the polls last year. It was an exciting time, of course, with a hotly contested election campaign, and in fact, beyond the Ontario election 1 year ago, almost to the day, Minister Smith reminded me that this hotel has special memories for you, Premier, in that that's where just a few months prior to that you were elected as leader of your party. And that, of course, was a big day in your personal history, but only one of the many accomplishments that you have had in your public policy career. Premier Ford served as a Toronto City Councillor for many years and has been a dedicated community leader before that, a successful business person before that with his company at Deco Labels. I will note, Deco Labels, of course, was a CFIB member in the past. I also want to note, of course, the Premier's commitment to public service runs, his and his family's commitment to public service runs deep for multi-generations. 3 generations of Fords have served the people of Ontario in elected office. For the Premier in particular, his commitment to public service includes over 20 years of dedicated work with the Toronto West Rotary Club and serving as a member of the Royal Canadian Legion. And I'm sure, Premier, that given your role in the Legion, that today has a special place in your mind as we recognize the 75th anniversary of D-Day. Before we invite the Premier to the podium, I'd like to also bring to the podium my colleague Laura Jones, CFIB's red tape guru, to make a special presentation to Premier Ford. Laura.
Thanks, Dan. Premier Ford, you know very well that red tape is a huge hidden tax on all Canadians that hits small businesses especially hard. And tonight we want to recognize your strong leadership in taking action to remove excessive red tape. There's the commitment to reduce by 25%, which of course we very much appreciate, but we specifically want to recognize the work on labor regulation and getting rid of red tape associated with hiring and training skilled labor, which is incredibly important to our members, as well as stopping the employment standards changes in Bill 148, which were just unworkable from the perspective of small businesses. We had over 4,000 calls in 2018 to our helpline on those specific changes, and it was a huge relief to have those stopped. So once a year we have Red Tape Awareness Week in January, and we come up with nominations for our Golden Scissors Award, and I'm pleased to present you now in person with your Golden Scissors Award that you won from us in January, and to tell you that you're the first Ontario Premier to ever win our coveted award. So thank you very much for your leadership.
Thank you.
And Premier, we'll invite you to the podium. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. Well, first of all, Dan and Laura, thank you. Thank you so much for the award. We're greatly appreciated, and I don't take that award myself, as we call him, Smitty, my great minister. He deserves it. The other 73 members of our team deserve it. Now, my friends, I have two choices here tonight. I either go with a pre-scripted script in front of me, or I just wing it and talk from the heart. Which one do you want? Do you want the heart? Wing it, okay. I like that. Now, my team, do you have any defibrillators in this building? Because right now they're about to have a heart attack, and Smitty's keeping an eye on me. But you're my type of people. Is there any chance we can lower that television down a little bit until I can see all the folks there? That'd be great. You know something? There you go. That's better. You know, you're my type of folks. You're business people. You get it. You get how to meet a payroll. You get how to put a business plan together, be it a sales plan, a marketing plan. You understand how to read a P&L sheet. That's what I love. And that's the approach we're taking to the province. When myself and Minister Smith got elected on June the 6th, a year ago, we went down there and we looked at the books. And for the first time ever, we were able to confirm, after the previous government was cooking the books, and we thought we had a $5 billion deficit, we confirmed through a third-party auditing firm, our finance minister, our president of the Treasury, and our auditor general, that we inherited a $15 billion deficit. And we inherited a $347 billion debt. Largest sub-sovereign debt in the entire world. To give you some figures, we are spending right now, I hear a cricket somewhere. Someone's ringing. We are spending, these are staggering figures, we're spending $1.5 million every hour on servicing that debt. We're spending $36 million a day, $13.3 billion a year. Just imagine what we could do with $13.3 billion. Our fourth largest ministry is called the Ministry of Debt. First thing you do when you go into a bankrupt company is you want to take care of the finances. You want to review every single area. So we did a line-by-line audit on every single expense, each and every one of us. And the waste we found was staggering. I used to travel around the province during the election and ask people like yourself, do you think we can save 4 cents on the dollar in government? And the crowd used to go wild and say, more than 4 cents, 10 cents. Well, my friends, we've saved 4 cents, and we're well on our way to save 8 cents on the dollar. Making sure we've created an environment. I always say government doesn't create jobs. As soon as you see a government starting to create jobs, I get nervous, because the more government jobs, it just means higher taxes, because each and every one of us have to pay for it, no matter if it's a business tax or personal tax. Some governments forget there's only one taxpayer. There's one taxpayer, not 3 taxpayers for municipal, for provincial, for federal. There's one taxpayer, and I always have to remind our federal friends up there that there's one taxpayer. I've had to remind our municipalities about saving money. They don't like saving money, by the way, I'll tell you. They think they run real efficient. But 92% of every dollar we bring in gets distributed. It gets distributed to over 400, I think it's 444 roughly municipalities across the province. Our other partners are hospitals, colleges, and universities. And if we want to make sure we take care of what matters to people, which is number one, healthcare, and number two, education, we have to find efficiencies throughout the government. We increased healthcare in this province by $1.3 billion. We increased education by over $700 million. But we also drove efficiencies. We drove efficiencies when we went through the budget, and the great news is, when my all-star finance minister delivered the budget, we were able to find $3.3 billion of efficiencies. So we brought that deficit from $15 billion down to $11.7 billion. We were also able to pay down our debt from $347 billion down to $344 billion. And I always go back to saying the environment, and I'll talk about how we've created the environment for this province to thrive and prosper and grow for each and every business, no matter if it's a small business, medium business, or large business. And I'll just run through a couple. Our Making Ontario Open for Business Act saved businesses over $5 billion in 2019 alone because of the decisive action we took on getting rid of the cap-and-trade carbon tax. Keeping the minimum wage at $14 and making sure we reduce WSIB premiums by 30%. Those are some pretty staggering figures, and on top of that, reducing the corporate income tax as well. That's how you create the environment. And I can tell you, my friends, the carbon tax, I'll talk about that for a minute. The carbon tax is the single worst tax you could put on the backs of businesses, the backs of families that are working hard day in and day out, because everything, absolutely everything, goes up in cost. As we reduce the gas prices by 4.5 cents, we reduced home heating bills as well to approximately $280 a year for each home in Ontario. Here came along the carbon tax, and all of a sudden, everything goes up. Your gas goes up, your home heating goes up, every item you buy in the store goes up, and each and every one of you are true entrepreneurs. You get something delivered, you get your products delivered. It costs more now, and it does nothing for the environment, absolutely nothing at all. If it did something for the environment, I'd say okay. But my argument to the Prime Minister was, and we've had many arguments face-to-face over this, my argument to the Prime Minister is, if we have a very strong environmental plan, because we're strong believers in making sure that we have clean lakes, clean air, clean rivers, clean parks. We have a great Minister of Environment, Rod Phillips. He's another champion. We ended up reducing the emissions by 22.5%. So the Paris Agreement by 2030, for any of the countries that wanted to get involved, was to reduce emissions by 30%. And we have 11 years more to go, and we've already reduced it 22.5%. That leaves us 7.5%, and we're going to hit our target. And we're going to probably surpass our target. But the rest of the country, so as we're at a minus 22.5%, the rest of the country's at a positive 5%. And my argument to the Prime Minister is very simple. We were able to reduce it 22.5% without a carbon tax. Why are we going to go out there and start punishing the businesses, punishing families? And his answer, well, some have to do more, some have to do less. Well, I can tell you, everywhere I went in the province, people are tired of being gouged by the government. I don't care if it's the federal government, the municipal government, the provincial government, because as I always say, you stick your hand in your pocket And people are tired of Justin Trudeau's hand in their pocket with them, constantly taking money out of their pocket. We have a very simple philosophy. Do you know how you stimulate the economy? Give some money back to the people. Give money back to the businesses. And there's one word in business that I like to hear all the time, is certainty. Businesses need certainty. They need to know that you're creating a path that they can go down, that they don't have to put up with Bill 148, the previous Bill 148, that absolutely was destroying businesses, and especially small businesses. TD Economics was saying that they'd lose 90,000 jobs. Well, when I traveled around the province and I talked to small business owners, and they said, be it a Home Hardware, I laid off 3 people. Tim Hortons laid off 5 people, so on and so forth. We were close to 90,000 jobs already. No students were getting hired because of Bill 148. So that was one of our first priorities, to make sure that we got rid of Bill 148, froze the $14 an hour, and made sure that we gave people and businesses certainty on what our government's doing. We're going to continue down that path and find all the red tape and regulations, because I can't stand red tape and I can't stand regulations. And there's one person that can't stand it more than I do, is my great minister here. He's, as I call him, the champ. My friends, just imagine going into government and all of a sudden you find out there's 385,000 regulations. Those are staggering figures. 385,000 regulations. And I know Todd works day in and day out. He's promised 25% reduction by 2020, and we're well on our way. And if I always ask every business group I meet, if there's regulations in your industry, please, we need your help. We need your help when there's 385,000 regulations. It's hard for even our, as we call it, the regulation SWAT team, to find every single one of them. So please send them to my office, send them to Todd's office, help us make sure that we cut the red tape and regulations to create that environment, that you don't have to constantly spending money over regulations. Matter of fact, one of the big banks came in and told me, he said, Doug, you know, cutting regulations is even better than giving tax breaks. And my answer was, well, we're going to do both. We're going to give tax breaks and we're going to cut regulations. And another great thing that my friend Todd Smith did, boy, you're getting lots of kudos today, buddy, is the Ontario Job Creation Investment Incentive, which is a real incentive. So I have a facility down in Chicago for the last 20 years, and it used to drive me crazy. When I wanted to do a capital investment, buy a press, and I'd be able to write it off right away. And in Canada or in Ontario, you wouldn't be able to write it off immediately. And I always give credit where credit is due. We worked with the federal government, and they agreed. Let's change that. Let's change that tax burden, and we'll work with you. And that is going to save billions of dollars, actually $3.8 billion over a 6-year period. That is massive savings. That encourages companies. And I saw it in our company, Chicago versus Toronto. We'd always be the ones saying, yeah, let's buy a piece of equipment because we can write it off. And in Toronto, they were more hesitant because they couldn't write it off. These are the little things that we can do to have our economy booming. And talk about an economy that's booming. Ontario is absolutely booming right now, and we have created that environment to create 170,000 new private sector jobs. These are staggering figures. April alone, when the numbers came out, and they aren't our numbers, they came out with 47,000 jobs in April alone. When was the last time you've ever heard a province creating 47,000 jobs in one month? Everywhere I'm going, and this is our biggest problem, but we're addressing this. It's a good problem to have when you've created this sort of employment. But everywhere I go, no matter if it's Ottawa, Windsor, Toronto, GTA, or up in Kenora, and no matter what industry it is, skilled or unskilled, everyone is telling us we need more people. And you're probably in the same boat. You need more people, no matter what industry you're in. And I've heard that no matter if it's the high-tech industry, the retail industry. So we're working on that. We're doing quite a few things. Actually, one area is a very simple idea. But the province didn't even have a website to connect job creators with potential employees based on jurisdiction, geographical area, or their profession. So we have that moving forward. We're focusing on colleges and university, on training. 1 in 5 new jobs are going to be in the trades. And the program we saw in the trades, it just wasn't feasible. Now, apprenticeship, we're doing the ratio 1-to-1, which helps out tremendously, absolutely tremendously within the trades. And we're going to continue coming up with ideas that are going to make sure that each and every one of you prospers, you have confidence to make an investment, make that addition, add a piece of equipment, because when there's a government that isn't pro-business, what happens, my friends, is what happened under the Liberals for the last 15 years, and that's 300,000 jobs left Ontario. Those are staggering figures. 300,000 manufacturing jobs, vast majority went down to Ohio, went down to Michigan, went down to New York State. And what really burned me up when I went down to the U.S. and in Buffalo, I went into the chamber there, and on the wall, they have all the companies from Ontario that left. And then when I sat down with the deputy minister, they showed me a book, and I know Todd has seen the same book, of page after page after page of companies that left our province. And it's not as easy as people think. Once someone leaves, is to try to get them back again. But with the existing companies that are here, they're now feeling confident to hire more people, to invest in equipment, and move forward. And I met a big pharmaceutical company, and very similar to the automotive. So the big pharmaceutical companies compete not just with other pharmaceutical companies, but they compete within their own large corporations. So when they want to expand, is the expansion going to happen in New Jersey, or is it going to happen in Ireland, or is it going to happen somewhere else in the world, or is it going to happen in Toronto? Well, we were very fortunate. We sat down and made that phone call and asked them into Queen's Park, and we sat down with them. Well, the good news is they felt so confident, they're now investing right here in the GTHA. You heard the same situation with Toyota. Toyota, as other auto manufacturers were hurting a bit, they're expanding. That's what we're going to do in Ontario. We're going to continue blazing a new trail, the likes of which this province has never seen before. My friends, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your support. Without your support, I wouldn't be standing here right now, and Todd wouldn't be sitting there. So again, thank you. You ever need help with anything at all, your business, your family, your friends, please call my office or call me personally on my cell phone. If you have your phones out, I'll give you my number. It's 416. So it's 416. It's 805 2156. That's 416-805-2156. Now, the last 3 days, Nico, what did we add up? 2,400 messages in the last 3 days? There you are. Yeah. No, that's just on my cell phone. So I go into my office the other day, and I think I was up to 8,700 calls there. Then I go in my office, she says, oh, we've hit over the 10,000 mark. So my friends, never be shy. Never be shy to, text me twice. And by no means would I ever ignore your calls. I'm at my office in Etobicoke till midnight, returning every single call. And at least do my best, not returning messages. I'm sorry, not calls. I don't call people at 12 o'clock. But do you know what's the most amazing thing? Rob used to call everyone at 12 o'clock, I can tell you. But do you know what's amazing? When you text someone at midnight, how many people are up at midnight? They start messaging back. And then you have a full-blown conversation. But again, thank you for having me. I got to run to another event. But you folks are the people that make our province run. And I'll be forever, ever grateful for your support. And thank you, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.